Hello, and welcome to Astrobiology Podcasting. My name's Jalen, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about space travel and how a weightless environment affects the human body. The body is complex and has many fundamental mechanisms that keep us alive. Its functions are very important to understand. So, let's go learn about them. At the highest structural level, the body is composed of systems, including the cardiovascular, respiratory, digestive, muscular, skeletal, endocrine, exocrine, and all these systems have different organs that work together to perform a common function and keep the body in balance. The vascular system is composed of the heart, blood vessels, and blood. Oxygen-rich blood travels from the lungs to the left side of the heart and is pumped throughout the body and distributed to cells and tissues, replenishing them and keeping them alive. The blood is then returned back to the right side of the heart and pumped back to the lungs to be replenished with oxygen. The heart functions as a pump composed of cardiac muscles that stimulate electrical signals called a heartbeat. During the cardiac cycle, these non-voluntary muscles relax and contract. Diastolic pressure refers to the relaxation phase where blood fills the ventricles of the heart, and stolic pressure is the contraction phase where blood leaves the ventricles. The strength of contractions is influenced by the volume of the blood remaining in the ventricle after relaxation, and changes in blood volume have a large influence on muscle fibers. That is why exercise is very important to keeping our heart healthy. So, you're probably wondering what this all has to do with astrobiology. On Earth, gravity keeps us grounded and naturally keeps blood flow down to our legs. In space, microgravity causes fluid shifts and actually causes an increase in blood to our head. The brain interprets this event as an increase in total fluid volume. It's unable to recognize that a loss of gravity resulted in redistribution of blood to the head, and the brain will signal the kidneys and other organs to adapt to this. The kidney is an important organ and functions to filter out blood. It pulls out water and increases urine production. This causes a decrease in blood volume and total body water and can cause dehydration. It can also cause a decrease in the size of the heart. Studies done on astronauts in space found that on the first day of space travel, the volume of blood that travels from the heart to the lungs decreased by 35%. On the other hand, the left ventricle, which is responsible for pumping blood to the body and the tissues, increased by 20% on the first day, but decreased on the second day. These dramatic changes in blood volume places a lot of stress on the heart. Hemoglobin is the main part of red blood cells that binds to oxygen. A normal red blood cell has a large surface area, which is important for absorbing oxygen. In space, a change in the shape of red blood cells dramatically decreases surface area and the absorption of oxygen. This can cause space-induced anemia, or astronaut anemia, and occurs due to a decrease in the number of red blood cells in the body. If you've ever been to an area of high altitude, you might have experienced altitude sickness. This is like space-induced anemia. You might feel dizzy, fatigued, nauseous, and dehydrated. So this is a problem. Nausea and vomiting cause a loss of electrolytes and nutrients that are vital to the body in keeping it alive. In space, we don't have access to copious amounts of food, and we can't recycle food or water. So energy balance is essential. Carbohydrates are extremely important because they provide the brain and red blood cells with blood glucose. Glucose is responsible for glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, producing ATP, energy, and oxygen. Blood glucose also contributes to the synthesis of neurotransmitters, which send signals throughout our whole body. Proteins are also very important. They contain amino acids and contribute to nitrogen metabolism, the urea cycle and making urine, and the TCA cycle. Proteins are very important for building muscle, which is a large problem in space. Getting fat in the diet is important too. It contributes to the brain and its function. Cholesterol is very important because it contributes to lipid bilayers and membrane structures. We need to make sure we're getting all 3 macronutrients in space to build muscle and to have energy. This is a picture of the human skeleton. The musculoskeletal system is a network of bones and muscles that work together to move the entire body. We are made up of 206 bones. Bones come in various shapes and size. Bones are composed of a dense outer layer called compact or cortical bone, and the inner spongy bone is called trabecular bone. Another type of bone we have is called bone marrow. The soft tissue filling the spongy inside of the bone makes new blood cells. In our bones, we have osteoclasts, and these bones act to reabsorb and eat older bones to break them down. We also have osteoblasts, known as the bone-forming cells. These cells synthesize and deposit bone material, creating new healthy bones. In a normal bone, the bone mass is deposited for growth in specific areas where it's needed most. For example, the legs. Minerals such as calcium, phosphorus, and potassium play an important role in mineralizing the bone and keeping it strong and healthy. Fluid shifts caused by microgravity cause a decrease in the amount of blood that circulates to the legs. A decrease in weight-bearing activity on the legs causes bones to lose minerals and become less dense. Bone and muscle atrophy is a problem because increased calcium in the blood travels to the kidney where it's filtered and excreted, or a buildup of calcium in the kidneys can result in kidney stones, which are extremely painful. Another issue with muscle atrophy is osteoporosis. Studies done on astronauts returning from missions has found that bone mass has decreased by 20% in 6 months, and long missions can result in up to 50% loss of muscle mass. Muscle atrophy is extremely important and really affects the metabolic functions that go on in our body. On a molecular level, protein catabolism can occur and hormones circulating in the body can change. For example, increased catabolism of glucocorticoids can cause decreased immunity and cause a decrease in the synthesis of white blood cells. This is why exercise is so important for astronauts. Let's move on and look at astronauts exercising in space. Astronauts need to exercise in space because it maintains cardiovascular heart health and reduces muscle atrophy and bone loss. During exercise, more blood is delivered to active muscles than inactive ones. With regular endurance training, blood flow to active muscles is enhanced through recruitment of existing capillaries and trained muscles, leading to more effective blood flow redistribution of inactive areas. This can increase overall blood volume. Muscles that are trained allow blood to flow more efficiently through active tissues. Likewise, aerobic endurance and resistance training has a positive influence on blood pressure as well. At max capacity, systolic blood pressure increases while diastolic blood pressure decreases. This induces lower arterial blood pressure. And as you can see, This is important for astronauts because fluid shifts occur in space. Exercise also induces many hormonal changes. For example, adrenal hormones, such as cortisol, increase slightly as a result of exercise training. Pancreatic hormones also can maintain levels of blood insulin and glucagon. Another important hormone is growth hormone. Individuals who endurance train stimulate the production of growth hormone and testosterone. Testosterone is very important because it stimulates protein synthesis and increases muscle growth. Likewise, growth hormone also releases insulin-like growth factor, which works to stimulate muscle growth. But it's also important to remember that consuming proper nutrition, such as carbohydrates and protein, before working out is extremely important because it is the energy that is used to stimulate growth hormone and stimulate the growth of muscles. Exercise training should occur daily when working in space. You should switch off between endurance and strength training. It's important to do endurance training for your heart, but it's also important to keep the release of growth hormone and testosterone for muscle building. On the spaceship, exercise can be done in the workout room. They have a treadmill where you can strap yourself into a harness and run. Did you know that once one of the astronauts ran the Boston Marathon strapped into a harness in space? How cool! They also have different tools to do strength training. Did you know in space you can do a one-legged squat without falling because there's no gravity? Exercise is also known to reduce stress, and individuals who exercise are usually pretty happy people. So, let's review some of the things we learned today. We learned the effects that microgravity has on the human body. For example, we learned how fluid shifts decrease blood volume and overall affect the heart. We also learned that fluid shifts can decrease red blood cell production and can decrease muscle mass and cause bone loss. Thanks for joining in with us today. I hope you learned a lot. Join us next week on our next episode where we will be looking at space travel and the effects of different minerals and nutrients in the body. Until next time, peace out.